Shalom. Well, it had to happen eventually. It had to happen. You just see the writings on the wall. Sooner or later, these different doctrines were bound to clash. They were bound to butt heads. And now I do believe we're starting to see the beginnings of it. If you've been following this Israelite movement, you'll know that there are what I would call the all-stars of this movement. You know, the channels that have the huge number of followers. Well, huge in relation to this movement. You know, they might have a few thousand followers, which is huge in relation to this movement, because most of our channels, have not that many. But when it comes to the all-stars of the movement, it just seems that it was bound to happen that a butting of heads would occur. See, when you got so many different views on what is law and what is not in regards to our Israelite heritage, sooner or later there's going to be a clash. These laws, even though one would think, well, it's written in the Bible, so it should be pretty clear cut what we can and can't do, who can do what and who can't do what. You would think so, but there's a nasty little problem. The biggest part of what I believe is the primary problem is the fact that we have in the Holy Bible, towards the very end of the book, there's this very small section called the New Testament. And this extremely small segment, for some strange reason, seems to command the majority of our people's mindset. Feel that. The Bible is majority Old Testament or Tanakh. But the very small minority New Testament seems to command the minds of most of our people. Now, because of that, and because of the fact that there are things in the New Testament that simply contradict with things that are clearly stated in the Old Testament, there's bound to be conflict. But what to make matters worse, we have to deal with the simple aspects of human nature. Personalities, bias, ulterior motives, and of course, good old-fashioned lust. Because of these core tenets of human nature, and because of the New Testament, we were always bound to run into a very disruptive stumbling block. Now, maybe if we could have put the New Testament to bed like we should have once we left Christianity, this could be avoided. Because I do believe most of our problems do stem from the New Testament. But since we couldn't seem to do that, we have to deal with that. Those of us who wish to stick with the New Testament in this whole little gospel and show, against those of us who are solely on the Tanakh. We are solely on acknowledging only the Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Because we could not put the New Testament to bed, there's going to be conflict there. But it would seem that the biggest conflict right now amongst the most prominent Hebrew Israelite organizations is revolving around those elements of human nature. There's a video that I viewed a little bit of, and it was done by one of the prominent Hebrew Israelite, I don't know if you call them organization. Well, it's a husband and wife duo called the Watchmen. I, from time to time, enjoy watching some of the things that they do. It provides interesting commentary, though I do see some flaws in their understanding. The most paramount of which is the fact that they are New Testament worshipers. They still hold on to that. They still call on the Messiah, though, of course, they call him by a different name. You know. So they apparently are having a conflict with another Israelite, prominent Israelite organization. This one being the Straightway Ministry, headed by a Pastor Dow. Again, I've watched some of his videos, and I find them, somewhat informative. So you can find little nuggets of wisdom here and there. So it would seem that their biggest issue, in the case of Dow, he is very staunch when it comes to the woman's place. Now, according to scripture, a woman is not supposed to be a priest. It's just that simple. A woman is not supposed to be ministering before men nor the Most High. A woman can indeed be a prophet, which means she can receive messages from the Most High. And obviously, if she's receiving messages, those messages are meant to be relayed to someone, most likely an Israelite male. So that means that we are not to completely ignore the advice of our Israelite females, for they can be a conduit for the Most High. But Dow is a little, he's very, strong when it comes to the woman's place, and then there's a lot of accusations about how women are treated amongst in the straightway ministry. I ain't gonna get into all that because I don't know very much about it. I don't care to know very much about it. I just take little bits and pieces of information from here and there, and I use what I can use, and then I move on. But apparently, because the Watchman and his wife is a very well-spoken Israelite female. She's done quite a few videos, some of which I've seen, and they have been enjoyable for the most part. But apparently, there is some kind of beef between them. Dow being the strong-headed Israelite man, and the Watchman's wife being the equally strong Israelite woman. At some point, at some time, they've had clashes. And apparently, the latest clash has prompted a video to be produced by the Watchman. A 2-hour video, in fact. I only watched maybe about an hour and 30 minutes of it. Eventually the drama gets a little bit, tiresome. I never had a liking for the kind of drama that us Israelites can drum up. And this really just feels like more of the same in regards to that. Petty squabbles, he said, she said type stuff. But the main thing that I wanted to kind of point out with this, I noticed that when it comes to our movement, the most problems that we seem to have are amongst those of us who are still holding on to these Christian New Testament Holy Trinity doctrines. It is truly uncanny. Those of us who have not been able to completely divorce ourselves from Christianity, and that includes both of these groups, the Watchmen and, of course, Straightway Ministry. They still call on YAHUWAH, or whatever you call them now. They still acknowledge the notion of a sun god. Someone who supposedly died for everyone's sins. They still acknowledge that. Even though the first and second of the 10 Commandments should be enough to abolish any concept of another deity. These people still acknowledge these Christian tenets. And it just seems to me that when it comes to beefing and conflicts amongst our Israelite movement, it seems to come from the same Israelites, those who still hold on to these Christian doctrines, who have not completely given themselves over to the Most High YAHUWAH only. The only way you can do that is by being 100% Tanakh. Because nowhere in the New Testament will you find the Most High YAHUWAH speaking to anyone. He only speaks in the Tanakh. He only has any kind of correspondence with us humans in the Tanakh. You would think things like this would be enough, but it isn't, apparently not. And I think I know why. It's because that so many of us are truly cowards at heart. That's what it is. Cowards. They are afraid. They have doubt. They are not willing to take the plunge, if you will, to abandon all the trappings of the Gentile conditioning known as Christianity. They want to straddle the fence, walk the tightrope. They don't truly 100% accept that there can be only the Most High. So they hold the door open for themselves. Just in case. Just in case this whole Hebrew Israelite thing doesn't go the distance, they got to keep the door open so that they can go running back to their Christian faith. See, if they renounce you know who, JC, completely, how can they ever return to him? And was it not JC himself who said you can only serve one master? Well, it would seem that these Israelites of ours who have not truly abandoned their Christian roots, conditioning, programming, or attempting to do just that, serve two masters. They call on the Most High YAHUWAH, while in the same breath acknowledging a Yahuwah Shai. They call on the Most High YAHUWAH, while in the same breath asking for blessings from a Yahuwah Shai. They are straddling the fence, and they are doing it simply because they are afraid. They are afraid to take off the final piece of Christian weights. They're like shackles around their ankles, and they are afraid to remove them. That's my take on it. They feel that if they do not completely renounce their Christian faith, if they do not completely throw away their belief in the New Testament, that if this whole Israelite thing does not pan out right, there'll still be a seat waiting for them in their local church, Baptist church. They can go back to doing the church thing again. See, I was doing the Hebrew Israelite thing, but I never completely denounced Jesus. I never completely denounced him. I kept on calling on him. See, most of us are cowards. That's the reason why there's only a scant number of us who have truly made the plunge, who have truly taken off their Christian garments, their Christian shackles. Only a few number of us have truly left the plantation known as Christianity. A plantation that, in order to stifle our rate of reproduction, made the asinine claim that a man who just looks at a woman lustfully has committed adultery. A plantation where key tenets of cleanliness established in the Tanakh were challenged by the very person who claimed to be the son of the Most High. A plantation that told us that if we were struck on one cheek, to turn the other and allow it to be struck as well. Directly in conflict with what the Tanakh told us. An eye for an eye. The religion of Christianity was designed to be just another shackle around the necks of slaves. And most of us are still afraid to remove it. Shalom.